here's the requisition homepage. So this is classic PeopleSoft e-procurement. So we're starting with that today. So a couple of things. You see a whole lot of stuff on the right-hand side. You can see all the links, right? You've got the categories, you've got the links, you've got your advanced search, which a lot of customers use, right? Because it's kind of hard to navigate, so they use advanced search. You can see that. I'm kind of circling that over here. You've got your preferences, requisition settings, searching, all of that stuff. So this is, again, what a classic PeopleSoft homepage. What do we do on our side? So what we did is we took that page, we said, okay, we're going to reorganize that a little bit. So we're going to make advanced search more prominent, right? So we've got the buttons are a little bigger, the fonts are different. We draw eyes to the buttons with either colored buttons, as you see down here on the bottom, or icons at the top, right? So you can see that looks like a home, that looks like a shopping cart. That must be my shopping cart. I've got my advanced search again so that I can, we'll pop in there in a second. But then we reorganized the page a little bit. So you can see on the right-hand side, you got catalog, web, express item. Same thing, we just changed the wording a little bit, make it a little more descriptive, but it's exactly the same thing. But when you look on the right-hand side and you look at things like the links, so what we did is said that's just too busy, and that also is a problem for a screen reader. Again, if you're somebody who has challenges with sight, the screen reader is going to want to read everything on this page, and it can be very confusing for folks. So what we do is we go through and we say, okay, we're going to take like these items, which is very similar to a navigation collection, and then we'll go and we'll put those things in a light box. So same links you have over on the right-hand side, it doesn't change, they haven't gone anywhere. We've just hidden them behind the icons. And if there's not a link, any additional links, it'll go right into that transaction. So that's what we did here. Again, just one way to kind of clean up the page a little bit. So let's go through and take a look at a couple of things. So I'm going to go into just the catalog for a second, just for argument's sake. All right. So as we come in over here, so on the right-hand side now, my images are not loaded, which is why it looks a little broken. I didn't do that on purpose, so don't accuse me of that, please. I just got to fix the images. But this is essentially what your classic catalog looks like. So you've got all your things here, your carts, your buttons. You can scroll through all the items, which is not very descriptive. You got your filtering over here, right? You start all the same thing. So what do we do over here? So we've got the same ability, to do the filtering. We've gone through, kind of streamlined the header a little bit, but you'll see item here. All your items are down here. You've got your preferred suppliers, and you can see all the same detail if you want. So I can go and I can expand down, right? It's all there. It's the same thing that you would see anywhere else. Right, all that information's there. I can go into the contract if there's a supplier contract. I can add it to my favorites or create a template, purchasing template, so on and so forth. So it's the same kind of paradigm that you have with Classic, but just sort of reorganized a little bit. So I can do simple things like, check the box. I can add it to cart, right? And I'm going to do the same thing on this side over here. Oops, there we go. Check. Gotcha. And I'm going to add you the cart. Okay, same process. But now, like on our side, you got a visual. I have an easy visual right here that's got a green shopping cart. So I know for a fact, so if I look at the top here, I've got one line, and I've got an item there. Yeah, not big, but it's these little things that sort of add up over time. So I can quickly, easily see right here what is going on over here. And then if I want to, now at this point, we anchor the buttons down at the bottom. So always at the bottom, it's easier to find. So I can also go in, I can set like my requisition settings. So my preferences, defaults override, same thing that you have on standard PeopleSoft screens, same thing. And actually, well, I guess we'll do the same thing on this side to keep it even, right? There it is there. So there's the example of the requisition setting, just laying out the screen a little differently, a little simpler to read and see, right? Collapsing sections that don't need to be expanded, right? So I can do little things like that. And I can get out of that one over there. So then what I'm going to do now is, so just to carry through the checkout process, so let's go, and then we're going to go in and do an express rec in a sec. So I'll go through here. I've got, just to show you up here, you've got the same view as you would before to view your cart. I can come down here on the bottom and go through and I'm going to check out. Right. So you've got on the right-hand side, here's your classic checkout screen. All your information's there. I can scroll down. I can see it all there. Comments, more links to check, budget if you're doing that. On our side over here, we just took that same exact screen. We took some of those links, like checking budget. We, instead of having to surf through and find it, we pull it up and make it more prominent. So it's easier for you to see and find. So I could very quickly and easily come through. I can look at, you know, if there's any shipping information, approvals, any of that kind of stuff is there. And then I can save and submit and go on to the rest of my day. But what I want to do now is I want to go through and let's look at it from an Express Rec side. All right, doing okay on time? Yep, okay, good. All right, so if I come through, same thing we're going to do again. All right, so requisition homepage. Oops, there we go. All right, so customers will do one of two things. So they'll either go and start from an advanced search, right? We'll do the same thing over here, because it's just easier and simpler because maybe you know the supplier or the you know, description or manufacturer. And a lot of customers use this. Again, I don't know how you folks use it, but making it easier for you to come in and very quickly type in, you know, a supplier name or an item ID if you know them. And a lot of the folks who've been doing this a long time tend to memorize these things. And you can very easily go right into the requisition creating if that's what you wanted to do. But let's take it back from the default version. So let's go here. And if I click on Express Item Entry, and I'm going to do the same thing, Express Rec. So you can see the classic screen on the right, and you also can see, if you notice here on the right where my mouse is circling around, because it's a classic screen, because it's not responsive, you can see it cuts off the detail on the right-hand side. So this is an example where you would have to, you know, scroll, right, if you're on a tablet, because it doesn't fit correctly. On our side is, you know, it's completely responsive and fits into the appropriate device. So same sort of thing you've seen before. I can come through and I can pick an item, and you know what, I'm going to do the same thing on this side over here. All right, so there's your standard PeopleSoft component search. You got all your stuff there. Looks like you can get bicycles and healthcare equipment all at the same time, which is very handy, I find. All right, so I can come in and I can pick, what did I pick? Bandages. Okay, I'll do the same thing here on this side, just as an example. I come through. Now, it's got all the same core PeopleSoft behind it, so a little easier to read. I can add another line if I want to do a multi-line requisition, delete the line, or I can just go ahead and put in my quantity, you know, which I'm going to do over here, and I'm going to put in, I want a whole lot of them. I don't know why, but I feel the need to have a lot of them, okay? So I can go ahead and I can add that to my cart. I'm going to do the same thing over here on this side. I'm switching over keyboards all over the place. All right, so I've got that, and I'm doing a big amount actually for a reason. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my cart. Same thing, I've got a single line up here, right? There it is, that's what I added. Very simple, very quick. And then I can move through off to the checkout process, right? So there is our checkout process. Again, things are sort of laid out all over the place, not responsive, and it's not Classic Page's fault because Classic was not designed to be responsive, right? And this is not fluid, completely fluid yet. So I can scroll through, see all the same sort of things I saw on the previous, when I was going through the catalog search here. Same thing, I can see, change the shipping information if I want to, put in comments and justifications, add it to favorites, all of the same things I wanted to do before. But if I want to, at this point, I can just go ahead and save it and submit it, right? And I can do the same thing on that side. And then now it's gone off and it's out the door. And I also can see that there are approvals, just like you see over here on the right-hand side. That's the approval workflow engine running behind PeopleSoft. I see the same thing over here on the left, right? But again, simpler, easier, cleaner to read. I can do my ad hoc workflow. And we're not customizing PeopleSoft. We're literally taking everything it passes through to us. All we're doing is changing the nature of it, how it's laid out, and making it responsive. So those are the things that we're doing. So our goal is to create that single user interface so that it's easy no matter what device you're using, no matter where you go and what you do. But then also, how can we make it simpler, faster, easier to get through transactions, to get your day-to-day activities done. So now what I'm going to do is, because we just submitted a requisition, so just to kind of take it home. So then we're going to pop over here into yet another device, because that's just how I roll. All right, so we're going to put our iPad over here. iPad, you need to move. Thank you. There, and I'm going to move this window over here. All right, so that is front and center, and then we'll get this one out of the way. Okay, what I'm doing now is I am going through an iPhone. So I've logged in. So now the idea is that I'm an approver, right? So you know the same look and feel that you've been seeing. So I can come here on my device, and then so that I'm going to be as a different persona, right? So I'm going to come in, and I'm going to log in because I have a fiscal approval going to Kenneth Schumacher. So now I'm going to log in as Kenneth, right? So same look and feel. And actually, let's do the same thing up here. Let's go back to our home screen so you can kind of see, right? And there it is, right? So obviously information is arranged differently. The menu navigation is gone on the smartphone because we don't have that space for it, right? So I'm sitting here, I'm looking at it. I can go in, I can tap into my approvals. So we build on top of the fluid approvals. So we've done a couple of things with the fluid approvals. We sort of changed things around a little bit. So we do, again, there's our badges, just like a fluid does, but we do red light, green light. So, once you get through your approvals, we'll change that badge to a 0 with a green background. So the red is, the idea behind the red is to bring your eye to it to say that there's things for you that you need to do. I can come through, I can take a look at the requisitions that are out there. I can scroll through my list. We put a badge here at the top. Here, number 8, so you can easily see how many are sitting there. I know I just saw it on a previous screen, but remember I told you I'm not very bright. So now I come in, I can see I've got 8 things that are, these are all requisitions that I need to deal with. There's the one that I just dealt with, or not dealt with, excuse me, the one I just put in. There it is. So I can see what it is. There's my boatload of bandages. And then of course, I've got the same thing. I can look at the approval chain. I can go through and approve it. I can edit it, send it back for rework. Very, very similar to what you've seen before. Around fluid approvals. But now, again, same look and feel no matter what device it is. So if I'm a user and I'm not the most computer savvy, right? And I've got customers that, build oil rigs in the sea. These folks, these are blue collar jobs or hard labor jobs. They're not computer savvy. They don't run around with the latest tech and they're not wearing Apple Watches, right? So, for them to switch the user interface, to be on a screen like you see over here on the right, can be a little daunting. And if you go from a fluid screen to a classic screen like that, then I'll go ahead and prove that. So then what's going to end up happening is that those end users end up getting confused very quickly. In fact, the pushback that I'd often get from Fluid when I was at Oracle would be, well, we'd have to retrain everyone because it's a different look and feel, it's a different navigation, breadcrumbs are gone, all of that stuff. So what I'm throwing back to you is to say, okay, well, what if we offer you the ability to be current on whatever Oracle's doing without becoming Fluid experts, have a single look and feel no matter who you are and what device you come in, so you don't get that level of confusion, and deal with your customizations, all at the same time while streamlining your application and making it more efficient. And that's what we do. That's what we bring to the table. So at this point here, I've gone through, I've approved out my request, or sorry, the request that came in for me, and that's it. Now I can go back about my day and do whatever it is I was doing, working out, yoga, eating an avocado toast, whatever I like to do on a Tuesday. All right. So, okay, so let's come back and talk about a couple other things. So I brought you through the procurement process briefly, so e-procurement. Again, 80% of the install base is using ePro versus standard procurement. We do the same thing that you see here. We do it across all PeopleSoft pillars. We do it for human capital management. We do it for financials, supply chain, CRM, learning management, interaction hub. So we do it across there. On the supply chain side, we've been focusing our time on e-procurement, well, procurement in general, purchasing, inventory, and also around item management, dealing with that, which can be kind of laborious at times. So those are the screens that we're modernizing, enabling, and streamlining. So kind of hit sort of the major, those are the big ones, the heavy hitters that are in the supply chain suite of PeopleSoft. And I think, we're going to be moving on to next, I'm guiding the direction on that. We'll be moving into around supplier management. So, e-supplier connection, things like that.